5 chapters says, please talk about climate change. I'm about to. Anyways, let's move on. We are in the middle of climate breakdown. That is totally happening. And it's happening right outside my window. It's happening right next to me. This is the Bobcat fire currently. This is where I reside in this area here. And the Bobcat fire has actually moved into like within city limits in Sierra Madre, Monrovia area, which is just a few cities over from me. So yeah, that's why we are currently living in a wall of smoke. But that's what's going on with my area. Let's look into what's going on in Oregon. This is a wild headline. Oregon prepares for mass fatality incident as fires continue to ravage West Coast. There are going to be a number of fatalities. Folks who just couldn't get warning in time and evacuate their homes and get to safety, said Andrew Phelps. This is from yesterday. Officials in Oregon are preparing for a mass fatality incident as deadly wildfires continue to burn. The state's emergency management director, Andrew Phelps, warned late Friday as firefighters continue to battle massive blazes. There are going to be a number of fatalities, folks who just couldn't get warning in time and evacuate their homes and get to safety, Andrew Phelps told MSNBC. Thousands of structures have been destroyed, he said, adding that officials were preparing for a mass fatality event. Holy schmoly. In Oregon, 36 fires have charred 863,794 acres, according to state data Friday. Thousands have been evacuated from their homes, and at least 8 people have died since late August because of the fires, according to an NBC News count. Marion County Sheriff Joe Cast said Friday evening that searchers had found 2 victims of the Beachy Creek fire near Salem. The Alameda fire, one of the most destructive in the state, is being treated as suspected arson. Dozens of people were still missing, and more than 40,000 Oregonians have been evacuated. Governor Kate Brown said Friday about 500,000 are in different levels of evacuation zones, either having been told to leave or to prepare to do so, she added. However, there was some hope that relief may be on the way. Cooler weather is in the forecast, and there's a chance of rain for Washington and Oregon early next week. Yeah, it's cool because there's so much smoke in the air. That'll cool things down really quick. More favorable weather in the area of California's record-setting August complex fire, about 2 hours drive northwest of Sacramento, is expected over the weekend. Highs in the 80s, onshore breezes, and higher humidity could offer relief in Northern California in the coming days, the National Weather Service said. Temperatures have been cooler than expected because smoke has blocked out the sun. Right, said Scott Rowe, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Sacramento. But the extended fire forecast for fall, which starts September 22nd, was ominous. A continuation of peak season activity into September is expected across much of the West as drought conditions continue to take hold. The National Interagency Fire Center said in its September outlook. Across the West and Alaska, nearly 28,000 firefighters and support personnel are battling 100 large fires that have burned more than 4.5 million acres, according to the National Interagency Fire Center. Oh, man. I'm actually getting a little smoked out as I speak. We have 124 watching, 55 likes. Please like up the video. If you are new, please subscribe. Guayomashi said there are 2 arson incidents in Multnomah County. Yeah. Black Crow, feel bad for the old folks with no contacts. Yes. I hope somebody is looking after them. Yes, indeed. Indeed. Let's move on to the story that I want to cover before it gets too late. This is from the New York Times. A secret recording reveals oil executives' private views on climate change. So, you getting ready for this, guys? Oh, really? You know, business executives have a public position and a private position. So do politicians. And so we're going to find out more about this. At a meeting last year, industry leaders contradicted public claims that emissions of climate warming methane are under control. So they publicly claimed that methane emissions are under control. Privately, they said, what did they say? This is from Today by Hiroko Tabuchi. Last summer, oil and gas industry groups were lobbying to overturn federal rules on leaks of natural gas, a major contributor to climate change. Their message, the companies had emissions under control. In private, the lobbyists were saying something very different. At a discussion convened last year by the Independent Petroleum Association of America, a group that represents energy companies, participants worried that producers were intentionally flaring or burning off far too much natural gas, threatening the industry's image, according to a recording of the meeting reviewed by the New York Times. We're just flaring a tremendous amount of gas, said Ron Ness, president of the North Dakota Petroleum Council, at the June 2019 gathering held in Colorado Springs. This pesky natural gas, he said, the value of it is very minimal, particularly to companies drilling mainly for oil. Oh my God, this pesky gas, what are we going to do? A well can produce both oil and natural gas, but oil commands far higher prices. Flaring it is an inexpensive way of getting rid of the gas. Yet the practice of burning it off, producing dramatic flares and attracting criticism, represents a huge, huge threat to the industry's efforts to portray natural gas as a cleaner and more climate-friendly energy source, he said, and that was damaging the industry's image, particularly among younger generations. What's our message going forward, Mr. Ness said. What's going to stick with those young people and make them support oil and gas? We got to get young people to support oil and gas. How do we do it? How? Smithers. The recording runs 1 hour, 22 minutes, opening with a moderator's remarks and concluding with a panel discussion that covered a wide range of issues, including job creation, the threats posed by solar and wind energy, and the federal leasing of oil and gas rights. The audio was provided by an organization dedicated to tracking climate policy that said the recording had been made by an industry official who attended the meeting. Whoa, leaked documents. Important for people that want to know the truth, right? Just like Julian Assange with WikiLeaks. It's important people to know what really is actually happening behind closed doors. Otherwise, how do they make informed decisions about these psychopaths, these psychopathic liars that run our major industries and also the most parts of the government, right? These psychopathic liars that are in it for the money and the payoff and the payday. They got to make up these lies to tell people that everything is fine. We're telling you the truth. Believe what we say. Believe your officials. Believe the media. Believe science. Neither the organization nor the official was willing to be identified out of concerns for industry retaliation. But 3 people heard in the recording, including the event's moderator, Ryan Ullman, of the Independent Petroleum Association, said that it reflected their comments. Jennifer Pett Martsteller, An association spokeswoman confirmed the meeting's date, location, and the speaker's list, which matched the recording. She declined to comment on the speaker's remarks, saying there was no official recording. A spokeswoman for Mr. Ness, Kristen Hammond, declined to confirm his remarks, saying that the Independent Petroleum Association had not produced an official transcript of the meeting. Well, how convenient. That would allow her to do a comparison. Very convenient. There's no transcript. Oopsie. We lost it. Mr. Ness has publicly spoken against the need to strengthen regulation of methane, a major component in natural gas, calling stronger rules, an unnecessary burden, and saying the industry's already produced valuable energy resources in a responsible manner. Of course they have. The remarks reflect the concerns of an industry that has presented itself as part of the solution to climate change, and natural gas as an important, quote-unquote, bridge fuel that can help the world shift away from coal, the dirtiest burning energy source, toward renewable energy. Oh, Jesus. Smoky. Natural gas, when burned, whether in a flare or to fuel a household oven, typically emits just half the planet-warming greenhouse gases that coal does. But by flaring off natural gas, rather than capturing it for use, companies are creating pollution without creating usable energy, right? They're just creating emissions. Many companies do directly drill for and capture natural gas for use, but researchers have warned that drilling for the gas also causes sizable leaks of methane directly into the atmosphere, which is even more damaging for the climate than flaring the gas. Methane can also escape faulty flares, and companies sometimes also deliberately release the gas from wells and pipelines in a practice known as venting. Methane can trap more than 80 times more heat in the Earth's atmosphere than carbon dioxide, over the shorter term. Research has showed that methane emissions from oil and gas production are far larger than previously estimated. To address the issue, the Obama administration had proposed new regulations that would have required, among other measures, that oil and gas companies install technology to detect and fix methane leaks from their wells, pipelines, and storage facilities. But a coalition of oil and gas companies pushed the Trump administration to abandon those rules. It said the industry was already regulated by state laws and was already equipped to plug leaks on its own without federal rules. Lobbyists argued that the companies were already incentivized to rein in methane emissions, given that gas is a valuable resource. The oil and natural gas industry has a pure economic incentive to prevent every molecule of pollutant from escaping to the atmosphere, wrote James D. Elliott, a lawyer representing a coalition of oil and gas groups led by the Independent Petroleum Association, including the North Dakota Petroleum Council, in a letter to the Environmental Protection Agency on November 25th, 2019. But speaking a few months earlier, what did he say? At the June 2019 meeting, Mr. Ness appeared to contradict that argument. There is such a glut of natural gas, he said, that some producers that drill primarily for oil have little use for the gas that comes with it. Yet, you've got to manage your gas to produce your oil, and that costs money. Anyways, I'm not going to read the rest of this. Y'all see what's happening. Y'all get the picture, right? You understand what is going on. Basil Peterson, researchers have warned, we are so effed. Yes. I am Sweetleaf, the dooming of the Doom Show. Lightning Rod said 129 people for a show that is not even on yet. Oh yeah, BBN has tapped into something. Next thing you know, there will be science fights. That might already be happening. I don't know. Valhalla56, smash the like button. Indeed, 133 watching, 69 likes. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Poppy Davis, my mama always said it costs money to clean up your mess, so don't do it. Indeed, right. And it's all about putting your mess somewhere else, right? You know, imagine if you lived in your car. How many things could you actually keep in your car, right? But a lot of us live in houses, some smaller houses, some larger than others. If you have a large enough house, you can keep more stuff, right? But you always want to outsource your stuff. Then you rent a storage unit and you put your stuff in the storage unit, right? Eventually, all that stuff ends up in landfills, creating a big toxic cesspool, poisoning the planet. You see how it works. But before you even bought all that stuff was created by poisoning the planet, right? By extracting the resources, and then extracting the resources of the oil to make all that stuff and to build all that stuff and to package all that stuff. And then you shipped all that stuff, extracting even more resources, right? There you go. Exactly. I am Sweetleaf. Okay, I want to cover one more thing before we leave. Geez, I'm getting, the smoke is just kicking my ass. Again, here's more green bullshitting. This is from Reuters. Reuters, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this website. Anyways, Canada has big plans to use hydrogen to cut emissions and produce more oil. I think someone tweeted this out. It might have been Peter Kalmus. Canada's main crude producing province, Alberta, looks to use hydrogen to fuel expansion of its oil sands without increasing emissions, even as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promises strong action against climate change, officials with the two governments said. Alberta will announce no later than October a strategy to develop blue hydrogen, quote unquote, as a cleaner alternative to using natural gas to extract crude at steam-driven oil sands sites. Associate Minister of Natural Gas Dale Nally told Reuters in an interview. Maybe it's Dale Nally. Dale Nally. Deploying cleaner feedstock will allow Alberta to produce more oil without exceeding its 100 megaton annual limit on provincial carbon emissions, Nally said. Hydrogen will allow us to continue to move the bar and reduce the carbon intensity of the oil sands until you get to a point where there is no difference in greenhouse gases in conventional oil and oil sands. Oh, goody. Won't that be great? We can get oil sands. We can produce oil with the same emissions that in oil sands that you use when you produce conventional oil. Oh boy. Cleaner and greener fracking. Adding that Alberta's hydrogen plan is synchronized with Ottawa's. Isn't that nice? Reducing the carbon intensity of the oil sands would allow of course, more expansion, right? So, oh my God. What is it called? Jevons paradox, right? So because you make it cleaner, you can do more of it, which makes it what? Not cleaner, right? If you reduce the emissions for it enough, you allow it to expand, and then what have you done? You've raised the emissions. See how that works there? Reducing the carbon intensity of the oil sands would allow, of course, more expansion. Blue hydrogen is produced from natural gas with the carbon byproduct captured and stored. So what are the emissions of even that production, right? Are they even adding that into the emissions that they're calculating in the fracking? I wonder. A green agenda to be launched by Trudeau this month is expected to map out a course to the 2050 zero emissions target. Oh, 2050, that'll be great. And likely to include a strategy describing hydrogen as a net zero moonshot for the petroleum sector, said a government source familiar with the federal plan. This all sounds really great. and so green. You know what I'm saying? Sounds super green. According to a draft 14-page summary of the federal strategy seen by Reuters, hydrogen will leverage the fossil fuel sector's expertise and infrastructure to decarbonize and diversify into a leading global clean fuels exporter. The document reads, if Alberta is staying under their 100 megaton cap, how they choose to do that or how they choose to employ hydrogen to do that isn't really our concern, said the government source. Ha, ha, ha. We don't really care. We don't care if they create emissions somewhere else, but tell us that the emissions are, whatever, a lot lower over here, right? We don't care if they outsource or offshore these emissions somewhere else. We don't care. Cleaning up the oil and gas sector is going to be a necessary event if we are going to meet our 2050 target. Good luck. Of net zero emissions, the source added. Oil sands growth has slowed, with Teck Resources scrapping plans for a new mine this year and the pandemic crushing oil demand, huzzah, huzzah, resulting in temporary production cuts. Take that, oil sands. The hydrogen plans raise flags for some environmental groups, as they should, familiar with the federal strategy. Some major investors, like Norway's $1 trillion wealth fund, have shunned oil sands companies because of their tarnished environmental reputation. As well they should. Hydrogen is like a lifeboat for the oil sands, said Julia Levin, Climate and Energy Program Manager at Environmental Defense, about the federal strategy. It's a significant fossil fuel subsidy at a time when we're making no progress on eliminating fossil fuels. The federal government's draft plan, 3 years in the making, says several provinces could produce hydrogen, some using renewable energy, and by 2050, the industry could, operative word, create 100,000 jobs, generate more than $5 billion in annual revenue, and reduce annual greenhouse gas emissions by 100 megatons. Oh, yes, hallelujah. Some say hydrogen is not likely to transform the oil industry anytime soon. You mean the people that are in touch with reality? We still don't have a good understanding of the economics, how much it's going to cost, and what we're going to use it for, said Alan Fogwill, Chief Executive of the Canadian Energy Research Institute. Okay, guys. Well, that was a lovely bit of shite. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel at the links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there, and thanks so much.